Hello everyone. This is Kiro Show here, and I'm going to be doing this properly. And what I mean by properly is this is going to be the final exam arc, and then the next episode will be the Black Forest training arc. Now, speaking of that, this is whenever everyone would come back from their internships, and they're asking questions, and they would ask Deku and May what they learned at theirs. Deku, he would have been one thing they would have him do at his part of the internship is they would have had him move around, and basically they would have had him look at a bunch of very high-tech equipment, and he would be in charge of moving it and taking it apart so he can see how it works and exactly why it's so, or how that basically he'd see the inner workings of how certain machines are. So he'd be more knowledgeable at machines, and he would have actually gotten physically stronger. Because let's say he at least kept up full calorie all the time he was working, so that would be something easy for him to do. He would probably be around 70 to 65% of All Might's power, which in canon is about exactly where All Might stands right now. Now, because Deku has essentially not trained with All Might at all, and has basically been working with mechanics and doing all that, All Might would have more of a time limit. Well, more of his time limit. Now, this is whenever All Might would arrive saying that they are going to be doing a bit of an exam. It's basically going to be the students versus the teachers. Now, as soon as that would happen, or as soon as people would hear that they're going against the teachers, everyone's praying that they don't get All Might. And this is whenever May is freaking out, thinking that her and Deku are two of the strongest people in the class, so they might be paired up against All Might. Which they are. Now, Deku is essentially telling her that she needs to stay calm, and he would give her a little piece of gear. Now, this new piece, he was actually working on it, and he said that he was going to give it to her as a birthday present. Because I don't remember when her birthday is, but let's just say that he started working on it, and he was going to give it to her, but she would just immediately hand it to her. It's basically a more advanced version of the goggles she always wears, but they got enhanced zoom, night vision, and I want to say, you could probably... They're essentially like super futuristic glasses, so they have x-rays, they have thermal, a lot of different things that she didn't know that she can put in the goggles. And as soon as he hands it to her, she would look through it, nerd out about it, and then she would actually hug Deku and actually kiss him. Now, after that happens, everyone's commenting about how that was unexpected, and everyone else is just saying, well, Denki said that. Everyone would just look at Denki and immediately have the urge to smack him. Because, let's be honest, he's the most clueless that there's probably is in Class 1A. Because he just uses his quirk all at once and then it's useless. He's the opposite of One Punch Man. Instead of one punch always finishing the fight, it's one attack and he's done. It's hilarious, actually. I just have thought about that. Anyways. Now then. This is whenever May would actually say that these are probably one of the greatest gifts she's ever gotten in her entire life, along with the fact that now she has a proper boyfriend. Everyone else would be somewhat confused And Deku would just say that, alright then, and he would just actually just pull her back in for another kiss. And then they would go get ready for the hero's exam. She's preparing her advanced suit, and this essentially has a better battery. It doesn't produce as much steam. It's not this one, but it has the bodysuit of this one, coupled with the style like this, and the capability of flight, along with more of a body type similar to this one. Now, she actually can fire rails out of the side of the arms, which are actually very useful. And what I mean by fire rails is if not fire rails, but not fire spikes either, but they're like it's a form of capture tool where basically she can fire they look like horseshoes, but they're essentially they look like them because they're bent in a U shape. But she could fire them, and if they were to hit you in the wrist, you would immediately be pulled back, and they would just spike you into a wall. Now, because of that, she's thinking that she can't use this against All Might because that won't work at all. So she'd have to use other techniques against All Might. And she's kind of happy because she did work more on her combat systems, along with other things with the suit. Now, after that, this is whenever they would immediately go to the starting line, and they are the last battle, like always. Now, this is whenever Bakugo would be commenting on how this battle might actually be an interesting one to watch, but he's still that cocky personality, but just less toward Deku. Now, as soon as the battle starts, this is whenever Deku would meet All Might's punch with another punch. And now then, this is when Deku and All Might, they would be fighting, and May is keeping her distance, and she actually has some built-in guns on the suit, kind of like how Iron Man does. But this one's a bit different because for the way her new suit is, it basically just has her face covered. Oh, that's not it either. I was gonna say she doesn't have the mask on for this version because it's not producing steam, so it can't really get in her face. But she does wear those goggles Deku gave her, and she is firing her weapon systems at All Might and Deku, but these are a bit more advanced because since the fusion core is essentially a giant mass of energy, these are actually somewhat laser weapons. And they're set to stun because if they're set to kill, they could easily probably take down All Might because this would just destroy things at an atomic level. So these are actually stunning and somewhat injuring weapons. So they're like, if they were to hit you, they could probably puncture your skin, but they just leave a burn mark. That's how high cranked up they are. That's for a normal person. But a person with a quirk is different. Now then, as soon as this would happen, and she starts firing a lot of these off, All Might would turn to her and actually go to attack her. This is whenever Deku would meet All Might by immediately jumping through the air, leaping off of a building, and dropkicking All Might in the face at 70%. Immediately just telling her that she might need to get out of here because this might not be a battle she could win. She's saying that she's going to stand with Midoriya and he can't just push her away. He's saying that he's not trying to push her away, but at the same time, they're going up against someone who is the strongest man in the world. May would just say that that's not possible because you're the strongest man in the world. Deku would say that now is not the time for the compliments, and she would just say that she's not complimenting him. He is truly the strongest man she knows. And this is whenever All Might, who is trying to rattle off a concussion from basically punching himself in the face, would immediately get back up and go to fight these two. May is still firing these at him along with launching a lot of explosives. And this is whenever she would actually try and go into attack All Might. And this is whenever All Might would actually try attacking her, and she would immediately detach her wing mode from her suit, and immediately just start trying to sear All Might's skin with the jet engines. Now, as that happened, she would actually just say that, she would just say, "Wings now." This is whenever the wings would actually wrap around, they would latch onto they'd be magnetized towards the suit, but All Might's in the way, so it would actually get onto All Might and wrap around All Might's body, encasing him in the metal. This is whenever Deku would actually come in and actually throw a 100% punch at the back of All Might's neck, or All Might's back, actually sending him flying through a couple buildings and all the way past the city. This is whenever Deku would actually just shake off his arm, and actually just, because May would ask if Deku broke his hand. He would say no, he thinks he just sprained it now, because he thinks he's been getting better at it. She would just say that I don't think that's possible, that fast. All Might would then get back up and immediately just pop his neck and start going toward them to fight. Now then, as soon as All Might would walk in, he would immediately rip off one of May's, the sleeves to one of her suits. So he actually basically took off one of her, he basically ripped the arm off of the suit, but he didn't rip her arm off. It actually just came right off. Now then, this is whenever May would have said that that's not good, and she would actually start falling out of the sky. She's trying to stabilize herself, but she essentially has to keep shifting body weight. And this is whenever Deku would immediately rush All Might, trying to punch him in the face. All Might would immediately rush in and punch Deku as hard as he can, and Deku would fall to the ground. Now, Deku would stand up, immediately just spit out a tooth, and look at All Might very pissed off. All Might's now thinking to himself, "Oh, I fucked up, didn't I?" And you would immediately just see as these two go flying through the air. Now, as they are flying through the air, Deku, he just keeps jumping off of buildings, and he's just juggling All Might. Because he would use 100% in one of his legs to build momentum, and immediately just punch All Might with another 100 in his arms, and he's using full cowling at 100% now. Now, this is actually still tearing his body muscles quite a bit, but they're immediately healing as they're also still tearing. That is the wrong picture. Now then. Sorry. My recording keeps cutting, so I'm having to edit a lot of these together. Now, All Might would then be so far up into the sky that Deku would feel like now is a safe time to use his EMP, or his spiritual burst, as it's called in the movies. Now, Deku would immediately go to charge it, and he grabs onto All Might. And he would charge it to the point where he knows it wouldn't kill All Might, but it's still going to hurt quite a lot. So around the same as the sports festival. And he would immediately blow up. Now, this doesn't kill him, and he doesn't kill All Might. But All Might is passed out, and he's still in his buff form. And Deku and them are falling. And this is whenever All Might, he's deflating, and Deku would see this, and he's thinking that that's not good. May would, well, not May, but well, yeah, May would actually just come flying in, and she only has one. She found the piece of missing gear, but she just needs to have it reattached back to the actual chassis to have it be a proper repair job. Because right now, this thing's not staying on very well. But she would come up into the air, and she's actually seeing as Deku and All Might are falling. She would have got Deku, but All Might is still deflating, and he's falling fast. So he tell her to go after All Might, and he should be fine. Just take him to Recovery Girl or Principal Nezu. He would tell him that she's got it, and she would immediately fly in, grabbing All Might, and they're still high enough into the air where it looks like people don't really notice it, so she would just fly away. Well, she'd fly toward the finish line, and this is whenever Deku would say that they took down All Might. And people are really, really impressed, but they're also confused as to why May took All Might away. This is whenever Deku would explain that that explosion that happened up there actually knocked out All Might, so he might not be awake for the next couple hours. So May's taking him to Recovery Girl. Now, that's not really a lie, but it's just not the full truth. This is whenever May and Deku would return to the garage and continue building. And they are then told before they left the school that they did very well, and they didn't expect anyone to win against All Might in the combat route, but they will need to pack their bags next week because of a lot of the things that, because of the Forest Training Arc. And they're going to have to get a lot of the gear they have. Now, Deku and May are looking at each other, and they're really excited. And Deku and May are coming up with concepts for new designs, and May is really asking Deku that, or they're really arguing about whether they should focus on the current, well, the damaged gear that needs to be like reset onto the arm piece that needs to be reset back onto the frame. And Deku's saying that they should repair it, May saying they shouldn't, and actually just further on to different concepts. They're going back and forth on that. This is whenever Deku would just say that it's a good idea to repair it and have it in case, but that should be fine. Now, they would repair it and actually get it put back on, and they would begin working on a new version of the wings that got ripped off by All Might and destroyed in the battle. Now, these would be better designed and better made because they would eventually make them out of carbon fiber and a steel or titanium alloy. That would be what the thread is made out of, and the metal parts and gears, along with a lot of other stuff, they would have been able to get it more compacted and better suited for combat. Get it more combat-wise. Now, after this, Deku and May, they would have eventually fallen asleep, and Deku would wake up early, and he would see that it's nearly time for them to start getting stuff. Nearly time for them to go to the USJ. So he would just start. USJ, I'm about to punch myself in the face. He would see that it's about time for them to start getting things loaded up into the U-Haul so that they can get it on the bus because they have to be there early. So he'd start loading it up, and he's letting her sleep. And she's somewhat talking about like a baby. And Deku's thinking that she's just brainstorming another thing. And then she would say like a baby name. And this would actually kind of confuse Deku. But he would just brush it off. Alright. Now then, I'm going to be leaving. I need to see how long this all has been. Yeah, okay, this has been long enough. But yeah, for anyone who wants to call me weird for doing that last bit, I thought it was funny because she always talks about and calling her machines her babies. So it's not far fetched for her to actually have a baby dream or something like that. I don't know. I am very tired and I need to. I'm gonna try and finish this one today. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Peace out.